The Rainforest Challenge is the ultimate test of man and machine. Teams consist of a driver and co-driver, known as the winchman. Over 10 days, they must complete a series of special stages on man-made and natural obstacle courses. These have to be completed within a set time. The fastest gets maximum points. Penalty points are deducted if you make a mistake or go off course. Exceed the time limit and you DNF, did not finish. Between special stages, the teams embark on long transport stages to the next test. Vehicles are divided into classes based on engine capacity, with all the teams competing within their class and to become overall champions. Before the teams enter the jungle, they must compete in 2 days of special stages called the prologue at the base camp on Malaysia's east coast. The prologue is a good opportunity for the marshals to assess the team's capabilities. Before entering the jungle, it's vital to find out exactly what they're made of.
The UK competitions are very much more technical. With the weather conditions out here, things can change, and the heat out here is absolutely immense. But the UK competitions are very good competitions. There's quite a lot of winching, but you don't get the variation of situations like you do out in this country.
In its early years, Australian and British teams regularly won the Rainforest Challenge. But recently, the honours have gone to Malaysian teams, making the most of their home advantage.
Being local, as you know what terrain is like, you know what setup to use. Most of them have got the axles modified right forward and to the rear of the vehicle to give it better approach and departure angles. And the winches. Right, this is a Malaysian-made winch. Till today, I think the fastest winch in the world. Winches are very, very important in the Rainforest Challenge because it's all mud and very steep hill climbs. And if you can winch faster than anybody else, then you're ahead.
The Malaysian cars are something special. They've got a PTO winch, a God's winch, and their winching, the speed is nothing like I've seen in the UK. Nothing like it at all.
The 3 European teams make it through the first day of the prologue, unscathed, with Andy and Sean leading the way.
It shows what our driving is like. We have picked up no penalties, and all the Malaysian guys all got penalties because we drive to suit, they drive to speed, and speed's not everything.
I think longevity is the answer. If you can make it through the whole of the challenge and complete each section without any penalties, I think gaining penalties is the worst thing you can do. Times, they are very important, but if we can complete the whole of the challenge, then we think, we're in with a good chance.
Day 2 of the prologue is a different story. For Clive and Malcolm, the day starts well, but soon goes wrong.
Hell! The winch cables have got that much left on, it's almost snapped. Very, very dangerous position. Well, what a shame. Look, the rope has gotten caught in between the fair lead and frayed. There's only a little bit left holding it. That's the way it goes. I think the other guy's going to pull us over the top. Shame that. We were hoping to do well on this section. We would have done.
A damaged winch is a real problem and could seriously jeopardize their chances of continuing.
Left, left, left! Left! Sorry.
Luckily, the senior marshal is on hand to give them a lesson in splicing rope.
Both ends, and then in the center of the knot, you also put two cable ties. So it's in the center of the reef, the eight, right? Yeah. Here, cable tie, and the center of it. Okay.
We're going to have to hammer that back up straight. Want some weld underneath it, really. Get before the fall.
I wonder if that's better turned over.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah. No, we're going to put this one on the front.
There's little time for repair, but they manage to swap the front and rear winch before starting the next special stage, known as the jungle run. They do well on the swampy track until a burst tire halts their progress, just yards from the finish line. Another DNF and valuable points lost. The jungle run is just an inkling of what awaits them in the real rainforest.
Lots of mud, over on its side. And to cap it all, we had a puncture. We soon fixed it.
But if it gets a lot tougher, then you know, we're going to be really up against it. These stages are obviously timed the same as when we're in the jungle. Hopefully the jungle stages, they might be a bit more of a blast rather than the technical, but we shall see how we get on when we get out there.
With a Suzuki taking a beating, Clive and Malcolm make an urgent pit stop.
So, going underneath.
See what these guys can do with it. Yeah, longer the better, yes. Reinforce.
With no support crew, teams have to make repairs wherever they can find a friendly mechanic. Day 2 ends with a downpour, ruining Andy and Sean's chances of completing the last special stage.
Well, the monsoon really did come down. We were really prepared to go for it. We were a bit disappointed that the marshals didn't clear some of the cars earlier. We waited and waited, the light got less and less. After the Chinese team went in, the monsoon started and the light just went. So we would never have made the section then in the DNF time of 15 minutes. But before that, if we'd have had a run during the day, we were convinced we would have got a time.
As expected, the Malaysian teams have dominated the first 2 days' special stages. With the prologue complete, the teams can begin their journey into the wild jungle stages. From here on, anyone can be a winner.
We're not overconfident. We respect what we're going into, we respect the situation of the jungle, and we're looking forward to it, but we're not scared of what we're going to go into.
The wooded hills and deep valleys of Malaysia's rainforests are teeming with wildlife and a plague of mosquitoes and leeches ready to take your blood. For the unwary driver, there are narrow trails and landslides that can drop away hundreds of feet into deep ravines. With the trail becoming more extreme, the deeper they penetrate the forest. There is no telling who will make it through to the end.
If the rains come back again, we've been told this could be the toughest rainforest challenge ever.
Five miles in from the low river, they reach the Clemen River, where the stage will be held. The run is straightforward. A fast slalom along the riverbank, then into the waters for a sprint upstream and back to the finish line. With the river swollen from the night's heavy rains, the stage proves difficult for one of the Chinese teams. After driving an incredible 5,000 miles from China just to enter the Rainforest Challenge, everyone is happy to see them live to fight on for another day. Undaunted by the Chinese team's troubles, Clive and Malcolm risk everything and dive in. If any water makes it into the fuel tank, their Rainforest Challenge is over. Miraculously, the makeshift repair holds, and the Zook doesn't drown. In fact, it's a good run, and luck for a change would appear to be on their side. While Simon and Rinser struggled on some of the more technical prologue stages, the river run is exactly what their Pinzgauer was designed for.
One of your best of best.
Cheers.
Second fastest so far.
Okay.
Andy and Sean's Land Rover is also well suited to the river and easily powers upstream.
Water crossings is momentum without spinning wheels. The problem is once you're into a river, if you start spinning the wheels of your car, you just start to dig. So the lighter you can be on the throttle, but with momentum going forward, you carry across the river.
Andy and Sean are steadily picking up points, keeping them in the top 10. The Malaysian teams are doing well and continue to dominate the race. But it's still early days, and anything can happen. With darkness closing in, the teams must cross the Clemen River to find the night's campsite. All the teams are looking forward to a well-earned rest. But with nightfall comes a surprise. The marshals have set up an extra special stage. The teams must make a high-speed run 1 mile to a marker in the jungle, then return as fast as possible. On an unknown track with poor visibility, the stage is a dangerous one.
Right to the left, through the trees. Stay in
third hand, don't go for second. When the tree stump going into the gate, it's on your side. Say we're in.
Again, Malcolm and Clive run into bad luck. Their extra driving lights fail, and the dash into the jungle has to be done at a crawl. The special stage continues long into the night, depriving the teams of much-needed rest. It's only day 4, but with half the race still to be run, battle fatigue can quickly set in.
All kinds of things will happen. Things that you never think will happen. But of course, if you're prepared in your preparation in mind and your mechanical preparation, I think there's nothing that you cannot do. However, you have to have teamwork. This is one of the essence of the Rainforest Challenge too, is teamwork. I mean, camaraderie, teamwork, and working with sometimes no English is spoken, but sign language.
From the Clemin River, the convoy embarks on a long transport stage out of the predator. The town of Kuala Barang is the last pit stop for fuel and water, before heading back to the jungle and the heart of the challenge, the Twilight Zone.
Move it around or what? Like this?
The trail is the hardest yet, and the convoy makes painfully slow progress. It could quickly become trapped if the rains return. Putting their rivalries aside, the teams have to get down to the serious work of escaping the predator.
You don't see it in any other sport because these guys do have to help each other through. It's not a case of one group is competing here and you don't talk to each other. You have to work together to get through, and that is an integral part.
Take it easy, huh?
We've all got the same goal. We all want to get our vehicles as far as possible, and the more difficult the terrain, the more challenging it is, and the more you want to muck in and work together as a team. The special stages are important, but completing the event, that was the main thing.
Best of British and best of American, eh? And a
It's not where you're from or what you look like, it's your attitude to it. You get stuck in, enjoy it, have some fun, make friends. It's brilliant.
After a full day on the trail, the convoy finally makes it out to Kuala Barang by early evening. Here, Rinser and Simon discover they have a problem. Their starter motor has seized. It must be repaired if they have any hope of continuing. With Andy and Sean's help, they find a mechanic who improvises the repairs from some old spare parts. But the two teams become separated from the main convoy, which moves on without them. Driving on through the night with no chance of sleep, They catch up with other stragglers and carry on until dawn. The convoy finally reaches the Ketial River, start of the twilight zone and the toughest part of the challenge. Exhausted from a long night's drive, the teams must complete a difficult special stage before they can head up the trail.
Well, we must have started about 9 o'clock, and by the time we put our tarpaulin up this morning really, was 6 o'clock. So we had a very, very long day, like 22 hours. We're feeling good about it. As long as we can keep our minds on the job, then I think we can make it through to the end.
Andy and Sean put in another good run. Their compatriots Clive and Malcolm sense a good chance to pick up points and quickly get to work. The lightweight Suzuki is well suited to crawling the rocky river. As each team finishes, they head up the trail, into the heart of the twilight zone. There they will have fewer special stages, but the long transport stages will be their greatest challenge. The Rainforest Challenge is a grueling off-road race. By the time most other events have packed up, the challenge is just starting to pile on the pain.
And now at this stage, we have about 24 competitive teams who are already going into the twilight zone. We have already done the checking. Their cars can make it. Because the twilight zone is unforgiving terrain, you know. If you go in, you can't turn back.
From the Ketia River, the teams enter the heart of darkness. They must navigate a 40-mile loop on the toughest trails in Malaysia. The twilight zone starts at the hill of no return and ends at the ultimate test, the Terminator. Before they can go on, Simon and Rinsa have to make further repairs. Team Philippines stays behind to help them, and the two decide to head off the next morning. "12 hours behind the rest of the teams, they begin their assault on the hill of no return. Each painful mile is taking hours to cover.
And going down in the mud with the declines on the right, that was, if you go, you go. There's nothing you can do. She's too heavy. So I think that was the scariest part.
Driving as fast as they can to catch the convoy, the heavy truck is thrown on its side by the rutted trail. Negotiating a log bridge, the Pinzgau's wheels slip off, leaving it in a dangerous position.
Winching the car off the bridge where we fell off with 2 wheels, and the Philippines learned us how to recover the vehicle. I found that pretty scary because you look down there 20-30 meters and you wouldn't want to have the vehicle fall down.
Learned a lot today. Yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
That was good. That was good. Those guys know what they're doing.
By midday, they finally make it to the top of the hill. There, they find 2 Indonesian and another Dutch team stuck since the night before. The classic Jeep is a World War II veteran, but the hill could be its last battle. Its broken axles need welding, not an easy task in the middle of a jungle. With 2 heavyweight batteries from Rince's truck, Team Philippines quickly get to work welding the brakes, and the convoy moves on. Day quickly turns to night, and with darkness comes new dangers.
We were driving at night, and then we got down a track, and all the trees were in the right direction. They were just brushing off. And then we got a radio call that our fellow Dutch team got in trouble, and they needed help. And we heard on the radio they lost a tire, so we thought, oh, that's not good. And then they asked for help, so we turned around, went back, and there was one tree that on the way there was fine, which was now came right through the window. And Simon was driving, and he was very lucky he reacted so quickly because the tree was like right in front of his face.
A bit of glass all over me, but mainly we have no windscreen anymore, no big injuries, so we'll drive on in a couple of minutes.
After covering the screen with straps for protection, they push on into the night. Day 7, after 20 hours on the trail, they finally catch up with the convoy at first light.
We could probably get it going. Yeah? I'd have to have a look in the bolt box to see what I've got.
With a few hours rest, Rinse gets a welcome visit from a driver in one of the Chinese teams, an expert in alternative medicine. But his diagnosis is no surprise. Rinse needs a rest and smokes too much.
Okay, let's get in. Let's move.
Back on the trail and the work continues. Clive and Malcolm run into tire trouble once again. There seems no end to what the jungle will throw at them. They're taking the fight deep into the rainforest, but there is a limit to how much punishment man and machine can take. As they push on, they hear some bad news on the CB radio of a crash. An Indonesian team, almost a day behind, has rolled into a gully. The fate of the occupants is unclear. After 2 days and nights hard driving, the marshals have set up a special stage. 3 Malaysian teams lead the race, but Andy and Sean's relentless progress is keeping them in the points. Before they even get a chance to start, Clive and Malcolm run into more trouble.
We'd got a problem with the front axle, working on it till midnight in the dark and the rain, still couldn't find out what the problem was. Pretty miserable. Then we had to wade across the river in the pouring rain and get set up in bed, soaking wet. And I thought, oh, it's got to get better again, please.
Day 8. After a miserable night in the pouring rain, the teams head up the trail to the next special stage. Up ahead is Terminator Hill. But first they must complete one more stage that will take them across the Pelagong River. The stage is the only route ahead, and everyone must cross the river. Andy and Sean put on a good show, but their heavy truck is again much slower than the locals. Down to 2-wheel drive, Clive and Malcolm managed to crawl their way through the stage, but no points. Day 9. The time has come to break out of the jungle. After 8 hard days in the most impossible conditions, the teams must pick themselves up for one last push. Only one obstacle remains: the Terminator. Run as the last special stage, the teams have to complete the hill in less than 40 minutes. The X-Men scout team took 4 hours to get 3 trucks up the hill. Everyone is expecting a tough time. After amazingly making it this far, the honor of being first goes to Simon and Rinser. They lead the way up 2,000 feet of tortuous mud.
We have a lot of time. Been running 14 minutes.
It's impossible to drive a heavy truck up the hill, and the Dutch must winch every inch of the way. After an hour struggling to beat the hill, they finally make it.
We beat the Terminator. The scouts did 3.5 hours to beat the Terminator. We did it in 1 hour. And the scouts helped each other, and we had to do it on our own. So I think it's pretty good.
One by one, the rest of the teams begin their climb. Eager to reach the finish line, Simon and Rinser decide to push on. Back on the trail, they hear that Andy and Sean have finished the Terminator in an amazing 22 minutes. For Clive and Malcolm, crawling on 2-wheel drive took 2 hours to reach the top. By nightfall, the first teams make it to the finish line. Greeted by cheers from the press and marshals on the other side of the river, the team will have to wait until morning to cross.